What's going on, everyone? Matthew here on the channel, joined by my wonderful co-host and best friend.
Callum.
Now, today we're reviewing the fourth episode of the Disney Plus show What If. If you haven't seen our previous reviews of these episodes, you can check out our What If playlist. We reviewed the Captain Carter one, the T'Challa Star-Lord, and also the Avengers serial killer one. So this is the latest one, starring Doctor Strange as the main sort of protagonist here. And also antagonist as well, funnily enough. So I'll pass over to Callum to sort of elaborate more upon what this episode is about. So yeah, off to you, man.
It's a big one. The title of the episode is "What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands?" And I mean, the real question more is, once again, I take issue with the presentation of the Nexus event of the universe, because once again, it isn't Christine's death; it's that Strange was actually a decent person already in the universe. And really, I'm curious as to what caused that. Because I mean, he's driving her in the car. He seems like a decent human being. He's not so far up his own ass. So I mean, really, that's the question that I want answered. What in this universe made him a better person? And I guess it was that he never broke up with Christine, that she made him a better person, which I mean is incredibly sweet. I mean, this is a very romantic episode, as Matthew said when we discussed this off the podcast. It's really about his downfall into madness after trying again and again to stop this fixed point in time, and it's tragic. I think this may be right up there with one of the saddest endings in anything Marvel has produced.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the keyword there, madness. I'd be so interested to see if, elements of this episode make its way into the Doctor Strange sequel and a potential multiverse there. I know there's been a lot of rumblings about the What If episodes and whether or not they're actually, I know they're canon in themselves, but whether they'll cross over to live action and those kind of things. But yeah, I absolutely really love this episode, despite how tragic it is, obviously. And I always did think the Doctor Strange and Night Nurse romance from that live action film was really underrated anyway. It's not a film that I've actually went back to rewatch since 2016, but this episode probably will make me do that because it's incredibly moving as well. There's a lot there's a lot to be enjoyed here. So there is probably my favorite episode of What If so far as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're probably the strongest romantic pairing in a solo film. I think not necessarily that they have the most chemistry, but individually, I think they're incredibly interesting, especially Christine. I think she probably comes across as one of the most likable characters in the entire MCU. Maybe keeping too high a praise on her, but that's how I feel. With the limited times that I've seen the movie, and initially, from memory, with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I think that Scott Derrickson actually intended on not bringing her back, and it wasn't until Sam Raimi actually got on board that she was confirmed to be in the film. So I mean, if you're going to point to positives about having Sam Raimi on board, it's the Rachel McAdams is back. But here right before we got on this call, you had asked me who was voicing Doctor Strange, and yeah, I said Benny C, of course. And I think we have to agree that his accent here is so much better. And I think it just must come across better, when he has more likable dialogue. I think it's when he's saying sort of like very wanky sorcerer stuff, like his line in Infinity War when he's like, I protect your reality, douchebag. And I was just like head in hands whenever I saw that. So I mean, I think it's when he comes across as more likable that it works.
Yeah, 1,000,000%, bro. Especially after watching the No Way Home trailer, and you can see what an arsehole he can be there, in a way. And you see him. I think Doctor Strange is a better character when he is more likable. When he's a bit more pure, a bit more sort of innocent. And here, like you said, clearly something's gone on in his life before Christine's death, where he's actually a nice guy, and it seems like that relationship's going strong there. And yeah, I think the fact that maybe subconsciously I didn't think it was Benedict Cumberbatch, because I'm so used to the live action Doctor Strange that it didn't really resonate with me that they had brought back him and also Rachel McAdams to voice the duo. So yeah, I just have nothing but positive things to say about this episode. It's not got the most sort of crazy mind-bending sort of cameos from other characters or anything like that, where like, it'll blow your mind to see this character from a previous movie coming back and what they've done, like a Thanos in the second episode. But I think what this one does is it really nails down the story. Like it's so well paced, it's so well told, and it's tragic, bro. Like you said, it's probably the most sort of depressing ending in an MCU project so far.
Yeah, it was really heartbreaking. Throughout the episode, he is trying to go back in time using the time stone to try and bring Christine back before he learns that it is actually, a fixed point in time. At what point would you have stopped trying? Because I think he had tried several times. He's like, okay, I'll be more considerate when I'm driving. I won't try to overtake. I'll take a different route. I think the moment where she drops dead at the party, I'd take it as a sign.
Yeah, that's the moment for you when you realize like nothing can be done here, which is really sad. It's heartbreaking, bro. Because as we're kind of saying, there is like a romantic element here, which I really loved and appreciated. And yeah, it's just devastating, bro. Like no matter like he try, I think there's times where like he tries just to stay at home or with her, and then she ends up having a heart attack or whatever at a party, and then I think they go to a restaurant and then she gets shot. So like it
Yeah,
is
and
like
then
there's just
he
nothing.
leaves her and her house catches fire.
Yeah, yeah. There's just nothing. Sorry, I feel bad for laughing at that. That's like
Yeah,
there's just nothing that can be done there. Like it's just really is. It's tragic. Like, and I think it plays so on to like the downfall of that version of the character. And they did a very interesting thing in this episode where I think the Ancient Ones kind of divide Strange up, but has two versions of him in the same timeline. So I'd be curious to see if that's something that the live action MCU is gonna incorporate, although it is quite confusing as to how that would work and things like that. What was your thoughts?
yeah. I sort of struggled with that. Logically, and it did sort of ponder the question of, is that the case in Multiverse of Madness or No Way Home? Is this you know a different Doctor Strange, or splinter of the version that we know? And there was speculation that the Dark Doctor Strange himself from this episode would be the one that has taken Doctor Strange's place, or is the villain of Doctor Strange too. And those are interesting questions. But with him sort of you know realizing the gravity of what he's done by the end of the episode, and not pursuing villainy, actually being heartbroken, I don't know that he would have any agenda in taking over someone else's universe. It seems to have no gain, because his Christine is still dead, his universe is still ruined. I don't think he really gains anything. I mean, Christine is sort of still alive by the end of this episode, but I imagine with her sort of slowly drifting away into the abyss, I imagine that her death was sort of inevitable, even in presumably the mirrorverse that he's put her in. So personally, I don't think this Doctor Strange is the one in No Way Home. But based on the tentacle creature that he conjures, as his first lifeline to potentially saving Christine, he conjures several monsters, and the first one is this tentacle creature, which I believe was, to me, looked like the one that
Captain
pulled
Carter.
Captain Carter in,
Yeah, that's what I was
and
thinking.
also is a character confirmed for Doctor Strange too. So I'm
Really?
thinking,
Okay, that's interesting.
yeah, so I'm thinking maybe the death of Wanda's kids is also an absolute event, like the death of Christine here. So this Strange corrupts her with the promise to change it, and then he's sort of the puppeteer of Doctor Strange too,
Yeah,
potentially.
I really enjoyed them taking Doctor Strange in a villainous route, because you kind of see how formidable he can be as well. And on that note as well with the ending, I'd be interested to see if it is kind of a Black Mirror USS Callister kind of thing, where he's just trapped there in eternity by himself, and maybe that's how they incorporate him into Doctor Strange too, because there's no doubt that Benedict Cumberbatch is an amazing actor. I think he's really good. And I'd love to see a sort of a potential villainous route um, with this character. Obviously, there's been different calls in the MCU to have villainous versions of our heroes, like Hydra Cap, for example, or those kind of things. So I'd certainly be interested to see what they do with Doctor Strange, because I think he's probably one of the more visually marketable characters, where it's a spectacle just going to see one of his movies, if you get me.
Yeah. Do you think, like, variants of characters played by the same actor is just going to get incredibly boring? Because we've had different Lokis. We've had He Who Remains and his now Kang his Kang variants. We're getting presumably the variants of Spider-Man in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. played by different actors, but again, it's all Peter Parkers. So if they do it again with Benedict Cumberbatch, that's 4 different projects that have done that, and I feel like it's gonna get tiring.
I think there is potentially an issue there where people see all these variants in live action and sort of multiversal tales and then that sort of impacts this show in the sense that, a lot of people would maybe think, okay, I've seen it in live action. Why would I want to see an animated version of this? If you get me, you know what I mean? So I think there could be a potential sort of, detrimental effect to this show if the MCU really leads into that. But I think they'll balance it really nicely. I think they'd probably be a little bit silly to do sort of multiversal tales every single movie and those kind of things. It's just, I think my only concern would be with Wanda, with Wanda being in Doctor Strange 2 and those kind of things, and obviously No Way Home having like that multiverse element to it as well, that there might be a bit of overkill in terms of the amount of characters and the amount of variants that are going to be in there, especially with the amount of MCU content this year, bro. It's insane. Like, I'm just looking at the channel here, and like, I was at like 3 Disney Plus shows already this year, this being the would this be the 4th one? So I mean, and obviously that's not even including Shang-Chi's coming out tomorrow, and of course Black Widow. So there's been a lot of MCU content, man. I just worried that we've been a bit of overkill, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's something interesting about bringing back variants of characters that have already completed their journey. A Hydra Cap, a Captain Carter. But I think having characters not like especially played by the same actors, variants of the same character in the same movie. I think Spider-Man No Way Home, if it brings back the Spider-Man, is that's something different, because that's sort of a like a fanboy dream, and there's nostalgia there, but we kind of we have no allegiance to like this version of Doctor Strange. So if they bring him back as this puppeteer figure, potentially it may be a bit tired by that point.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely validity in that for sure, definitely.
So I think we can probably agree this was not the most fun episode, but I do think it was really something special. It was absolutely heartbreaking, and it was the most romantic of the 4 that we've seen. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season, but I think this may be where it peaks. In terms of quality storytelling. Number 2 told a really fun, interesting new story. That was a bit of a romp, a bit of a heist. A bit of an Ant-Man style kind of story. Here, it was kind of it was something unlike anything we've ever seen from the MCU. And I think What If has really emboldened them to tell darker stories and more swings. Instead of them worrying about committing to something in a movie and fans hating it. Maybe this could have been the place for Taskmaster from Black Widow. I don't know. Maybe take the safer choices for the films. That might be how they approach it in the future. Because we're gonna have they said season 2 is gonna have phase 4 stories. So I mean, we may get what if Tony Masters was in the mix instead of whatever her name was, Antonia Dreykov. So I'm hoping that this really opened the door for new different stuff. I'd say this was my favorite of the 4. I'd give it a 9.5, 10.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you, bro, to be honest. It's definitely my favorite of the 4. And I think what the show's done so well is every episode has a different kind of vibe to it. The first episode's clearly that introduction where nothing too crazy is going to happen. Episode 2 is that really fun, vibrant adventure of one of our favorite characters. And episode 3 is kind of this mystery. With episode 4, though, it just completely diverts away from these sort of reasonably happy endings of the previous 3. And it really goes down that sort of not everything's sort of sunshine and rainbows, and it does have quite a depressed ending. So it's definitely my favorite episode of the 4. I'd probably have to give it a 10. I say this every episode, but that's a good sign that the show is improving every episode. So I'd be interested to see, do you know what the next episode's about?
Oh God, I don't think I do. If I had to hazard a guess, I think it's Party Thor.
Okay. I think the episode that I'm really most looking forward to now on is probably the Marvel Zombies. I think that could be really good. I really like the comic of that, but yeah, it's been a really good show so far.
I know 100% that the last one is the Ultron as Vision one, and then I think the one before that is Gamora hunting Tony Stark on Sakaar, and then somewhere in the mix there's Marvel Zombies, Killmonger saving Tony Stark, and Party Thor. Next one might be the Tony Stark one.
Brilliant. But yeah, that concludes another What If review on the channel. Thanks very much, Callum, for your time today. And thank you very much for watching. Really do appreciate your time. And please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts on the TV show down below. We're always there to read and react to you guys. And of course, time codes, well, you wouldn't need them now, but if you wanted to go back, time codes in the description. Our email on our iTunes link is in the description below. Hope you guys are all well. Hope your family and friends are all safe and well too. Take care, everyone, and see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.